Well, hello and welcome everybody. Soul Nectar Tribe. Community.
Hi, everyone. There's Monica. Good to see you, sister. Hi, Jordan. Good to see you, sir.
Hello, everyone.
Awesome. You look a little
So,
bit more glowing from that fire walk last week, brother. You
yeah,
good?
it's awesome.
Hi, Camilla. Hi, good to meet you. Quinn,
She can't hear us yet, but yeah, Flory, welcome,
Flora.
Flory.
Hi,
Welcome,
Flora.
Quinn. We're excited you guys are here and more coming. So, as you guys know, this is Soul Nectar Tribe Gathering, and we're really excited to have you guys all here and kick off these monthly events again because it's been a little while since we've done one of these.
Yep.
As you know, I'm Kerri Hummingbird, so medicine woman, mother, mentor, messenger, author of a lot of best-selling books, and
I am Akeem Sami, martial artist, a martial arts instructor. I'm a network engineer on another end. I'm a massage therapist, licensed massage therapist, and a chronic and somatic practitioner healing as well. So pretty busy, pretty awesome times that we're in. So it's asking us all to step in the ways that we step in. And how are each of you meeting that? That's the place to bring in, and how we can support you with that. We're bringing all this in to our community and the connection. This is more of a figurative question, not to answer, but to just ask within yourself. And just wonderful seeing each and every one of you on here so that we can be in this community gathering together, creating.
really exciting. And we are initiating our Soul Nectar Tribe gatherings again, and we're really excited. And this month, we decided to read the book and contemplate the teachings of The Mastery of Self by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. So, some of you guys know that because in inner medicine training, we use the four agreements as a basis of our training as a foundational element. And that's because on my own journey, the four agreements came right in as I made my transition out of drama filled living and 2 decades of psychotherapy into another way of approaching life. The Four Agreements book was the first one that I studied in my first training. And then after that first training, I actually met Heather Ashamara, who is a protege of Don Miguel Ruiz Sr. So I got steeped in the four agreements and the Toltec teachings. And so these teachings are really powerful. And so usually we look at some form of Toltec teachings in the tribe because they're really good foundation. Last year, we explored all four of the four agreements in different months.
And the fifth agreement as well.
And the fifth agreement. We didn't get all the way through the fifth agreement. So we need to circle back to that at some point.
Well, and also part of the daily inspiration was also supplementing, going through some of the things that we may not have completely brought up with all of the different quotes and things. It's really been a conversation, and it's really been like the door open to do your own personal discovery and chime in. So this is also an opportunity that, even if we don't talk about it or you don't put your voice in this recording here, feel free to put it in our chat, in inspirations or in the daily tribe, to speak about all that we're speaking about here. And all this is fourth agreement, the fifth agreement, and now the mastery of self, which is through the end of January.
Yeah, and we'll be talking more about this. Some of you are already members of the Soul Nectar Tribe community, and some of you are just hearing about it for the first time. So we decided that we would open up these monthly gatherings to all the people on my email list. So everybody that listens to Soul Nectar, everybody that's in the tribe can come to these community gatherings. And then the invitation is, if you like what's happening here, come join us in the private space, in the Telegram chat space, and be part of that community with us. And so this is what we're initiating right now. We're really excited about initiating. I know the light is like super funky, and every time I move my hands, it like changes. It's like a discotheque going on in here. But so we're really excited. And so we want to get into the teachings, and this is going to be interactive. So we want to set up some of the premise, And then we want to have some interaction with you guys and give you a chance to share, if you want to share in the chat or using your voice, depending on how courageous you are. We'd like to hear your reflections on these major tenets of the beginning part of the book. And so kind of a basic outline, we're going to just introduce a little bit about the premise of these Toltec teachings. And then we're going to talk about domestication, attachment, and conditional or unconditional love. And in each one of those areas, we're inviting you to share with us your own reflections on where you engage those topics. And so we're hoping that this will be transformational for everybody who's engaging with this. So we start off with the major premise of the Toltec is that we are artists of the spirit when we realize that we're dreaming. That we think we're walking awake, but actually we're dreaming. And so when we can realize, wake up to the fact that we are in a collective dream and a personal dream, that we can have more power by directing the flow of the dream in the way that we wish it to go or that we wish to experience by we could also say co-creating. And so, but we have to wake up to the fact that we are dreaming.
You know, that also brings me to another piece. I actually was talking with one of my coworkers at my massage work, and she confided, she said, I've got this strange thing that I'm doing. I'm actually dreaming in my dream about me dreaming. It's like a dream in a dream. And I Googled what that meant. And you know what Google said? It was one of two things. It either meant that I'm, and I'm going to say an expletive here, batshit crazy, or you're an energy healer. And she doesn't want to be either one. So she felt like she was in this polar choice that you have to be one or the other exactly the way that you visualize it. So the whole conversation, because she'd already read the 4 agreements, so we were able to have a deeper conversation about what does being in the dream mean for you? And is this a pleasant dream? And is this a loving dream? Is this a dream that brings you happiness? Is this a dream that you feel that you're just yanked into and can't get out of if you wanted to?
So there's a nice quote here from Don Miguel, who says, the personal dream is the unique reality created by each individual. It's their perspective, a manifestation of the relationship between mind and body, and intent is the energy that animates both. As our shared knowledge and experience mingle together, we co-create the dream of the planet, which is the combination of every single being in the world's personal dream. So why that interests me, why it interested me at first was, oh, I have a perspective. I can co-create part of the dream on the planet or in my family system or in my job or in my purpose, whatever that is. Oh, I can be the artist of my dream. That's cool. I want to do that. I want to be empowered, right? And then the longer I've walked the path, the more interested I've become in how do we influence the dream of the planet through our own individual work. Because as we look out into the world, we can see a lot of different ways that people are choosing to express their dream. And some of those ways include violence and war and things that I personally don't choose to experience. And, you know, so those of us who are here that are feeling like we prefer peace and joy and laughter and fun and all of those things, not to say we won't have the other experiences, but that we can, by doing our own personal work, we can actually influence the dream of the planet to change and shift out of the heavy predominance on violence and these shadow frequencies into more balanced, right? Into something more balanced or even higher frequency. And so we get to influence that with our personal work, which is why I love the Toltec path. It empowers us to know that we can do that. And when we gain personal power, the Toltec path is really about reclaiming your power to be a conscious co-creator. And so we gain personal power when we realize we're dreaming. Just the realization alone helps us claim some power back. And we also become the master of self by realizing we're dreaming, realizing we've been domesticated to see life a certain way and to respond to life in a certain way, realizing we have attachments that actually end up controlling us, attachments to how life should be or how we should be or how society, all the shoulds that actually end up putting us in a little cage, and realizing that up until now, we've been loving ourselves and others conditionally from that domestication. And so mastery of self is about seeing through what they call the smoky mirror. And we talk about this a lot in inner medicine training. What is the smoky mirror? So the smoky mirror is like when you get out of the shower and the mirror is all fogged up and you can't really see yourself clearly. That's kind of a version of the smoky mirror, is that we can't see ourselves clearly in the reflection. We can't see ourselves clearly when we're looking in the own mirror. We can't see ourselves clearly in other people because it's all fogged up. It's all like confused and distorted by this conditioning, this attachments, and like the domestication, the attachments, and the conditional love distorts everything we see. So in inner medicine training, we learn a lot about how to notice when we're projecting our reality out into the world, and when our judgments are creating a reality for ourselves that isn't beneficial. And we learn how to clean that up. So we learn how to clean up the smoky mirror. But we're just getting started here in this conversation. And on your path, you might have already explored this in depth. And so I know that people that come to me have lots of background and lots of history a lot of times. And so we're going to just kind of go back to beginner's mind and act as if you don't know anything. Because that's how we learn more.
My favorite.
So we go back to beginner's mind. So like I said, we wanted to talk about 3 topics that are brought up in this book tonight. And the first topic is domestication. And so, Akeem, what is domestication?
Well, domestication, as I understand it from Don Miguel Ruiz and Jr. And the Toltec community, domestication is agreed as a system of control in the dream of the planet. It's the way that we learn conditional love, as in the bait and carrot, I do this, you do that. It starts when we're very young, usually in the single-digit years. We're presented with either a reward or a punishment for adopting the beliefs and the behavior that others model for us in the dream.
Yeah, and there's a great example in the book about a really clear example. And the example is this little boy is having his lunch, his soup, and his grandmother has served it to him. And he says, well, I don't want anymore. No, I'm done. My tummy's full. I don't want anymore. And grandma wants him to finish eating it, because she wants him to be well nourished or whatever reason she has. And she says, well, you want to grow up big and strong, right?
So that's almost like a bait and carrot by starting first with an offer of a higher value to sell. And anyone who's been a parent, you can see when this pattern comes out where you're thinking, okay, well, if I can convince them the why, they'll actually inspire themselves to do it. Whether they agree with it or not, I already explained it to them. So I want them to subscribe to what I'm wanting them to do because I believe that I know more than what my kid knows about themselves.
And maybe grandma believes that if you eat your whole dinner, that you're going to be healthier or stronger, right? Mm-hmm. So she's placing that belief on the child. So, but the problem is that the boy's instincts in his body have already told him what's true for him. The boy's body's already said, I'm full, right? And so now, in order to please grandma, he's got to go along with what she said. Now, in this case, he insists again. He says, no, I'm actually not hungry. And then what happens is that the stick
The
comes out.
stick comes out, which is the punishment. It could be verbal, it could be physical, and we probably experienced a mixture of both somewhere in our lives, way, shape, or form, right? Yeah.
And so the stick could be, in this case, in the example in the book, the stick is guilt. So the stick is, grandma says, you know, if you don't, that's not okay to not finish your plate, because there's people starving in other parts of the world, and you have a full plate of food and you're not eating it. And then he feels bad that he's not eating this, or that costs us a lot of money to put that food on your plate and you're not eating it.
Guilt.
Another guilt, you know, and then sometimes, or you're, you know, if you don't finish that food, you'll be grounded. And so, you know, these are ways that we are domesticated early on to have some foundational agreements about life. And the thing is that when at first the outer person, the parent, the grandparent, the school teacher, the person of authority, right? The elder, the person that's teaching us, is giving us the way to get love, right? Because all of this ties back into love. We'll talk about that in the last part. But it's giving us the path to be a good person, a good boy, a good girl, a good little boy, a good little girl, if you do this behavior that we expect you to do. And if you don't do this behavior that we expect you to do, then you are a bad little boy or a bad little girl. So we get into these polarities.
Label systems.
The labeling, the bad and the good.
Yeah. And that also, we've seen that in the mental health industry as well, right? Like labeling, oh yeah, this person has a personality disorder. This person has DID, or, you know, there's labels that come with it that can help the person find it. And this also showed up in that same conversation. But then on the other side, there's the guilting and the shaming that comes in, that perpetuates the cycle over and over and over again, shaming yourself into staying in this diagnosis, and then the things that you have to do with it. It gets heavy. It gets really heavy.
So there's a lot of ways that this basic foundational premise is extrapolated in our society, but foundationally, this is it. Like foundationally, if you do what you're expected to do, you're rewarded. And if you don't do what you're expected to do, you receive some form of punishment. And it could be emotional, mental, physical, depending on the system that you're in. So that's the basic foundational dream of the planet up until now. And so as we become aware of that, we have great power, because the truth is that no one's standing over, you know, the man whose grandma said you must finish your plate is probably 55 now, and grandma's not there anymore, making sure that he's not finishing his whole dinner, right? She's not standing over him anymore, but she is inside of him. So whether or not he remembers that moment, whether or not it was indelibly printed on him, or whether it just became part of the background noise of his life and the way he makes decisions, at 55, he's finishing his plate when he's really not full, when he's full and he doesn't want to eat anymore. He's still finishing all of his food, and not only finishing all of his food, but telling everybody else to do it too. And this is called self-domestication. So self-domestication is the act of accepting ourselves on the condition that we have adopted from others in the dream of the planet, without ever considering if those ideas are truly what we want. So many of us have experienced that when we thought that we had to go get the 4-year college degree, and then go get the job, and then get the house, and then get the car, and then have the 2.2 kids, and, you know, and without ever really asking ourselves, is that really what I want? Right? Because there's a big conditioning that that's the way life is. And we see a lot of people disrupting that now. And that's because people have become aware of these teachings in one way, shape, or form, in some avenue, become aware about this idea of domestication, this thing that's been happening. So we've given you a couple of examples about domestication, and we wonder, like, what do you see in your life? Like, where have you overcome a piece of domestication? Where were you expected to do something or be something in your life, and then you had to say no because you realized it wasn't true for you? anything you feel like sharing, either you can unmute and share, or you can share in the chat.
So for me, it's definitely the eating thing. So growing up, I was a picky eater, just knowing what I wanted. And like, now that I'm back down here in Texas, actually getting to go to all the family events like Thanksgiving and things like that. And I'm going there, I'm just like shoveling it all down. I'm like, not even like hungry anymore. Why am I still eating this? Because it's amazing food, right? But then like I get back to my parents' house and I'm like, about to like start up some food again because it's supper time now. I'm supposed to eat again, right? And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't even feel hungry. What the hell am I doing right now? So it's like that's like been my new that's been like my new thing in this new year is to just eat when I'm actually hungry. So and now that I'm sure you've all noticed like how the energy has shifted. So now it's like the appetite during the daytime isn't like as nowhere near as ravenous as it used to be anyway. So it's like, yeah, we'll just eat whenever we're hungry. And the weight is staying consistent, which for me is amazing. Because it used to be like I skip one meal, I lose 5 pounds. So I'm very happy about that too. Yeah, I made the happy plate.
Tasty food, and I've had that too, and I still every now and then I face that from time to time. I have some really tasty food, and I know what you're talking about. I hear you, and
then I was going to say the mic is much better now, by the way.
Yeah, I just figured out what happened. Okay, good. You guys can hear us again. Awesome. So hopefully that wasn't too torturous.
Thanks for bearing with us.
Jordan, thanks for bringing that to us, because that's like really challenging, right? Because like if you said, no, I don't want to eat, is there like some letdown? Like say your mom baked this beautiful pie, but you're like full and you don't want any of it. Now what? What happens inside of you?
Oh, that was like the big thing growing up. It was you're gonna upset your mom with whatever it was, not necessarily just the food thing, but with anything like, oh, you upset your mom, and it always made me feel like shit whenever that would happen, because I upset my mom. Because I was completely responsible for how she was supposed to react to something, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you see, that's where the entanglement starts to happen, right? Because this conditioning, this domestication says you as a little child are responsible for how your mother chooses to react to your choice. Now that, so what we do in the training is we want to disentangle that, right? Because we want to go, actually, that's not my responsibility. I'm not responsible for how anybody else feels. I'm only responsible for how I feel and I react to circumstances, right? And so in this process that the Toltec initiate in all of us, it starts to disrupt these family dynamics. And then that's why some family members really don't like us picking up that book because it puts responsibility back on each person, to be responsible for your own yard, your own backyard.
Oh, I've been disrupting this family since I started my journey in 2017. It's all good.
It's all good. It liberates everybody.
Yeah, and everyone's happier in the very end of it. Of course, in the very beginning, there's probably a little knee jerk. I've experienced like the knee jerk. It's like, wait a minute, you're not giving us the things that you gave us before. You're not providing what we wanted you to provide us before, like we did before. So we want it back. So that's kind of like talking to a different earlier version of themselves, like pulling on. It's like, no, you took something that's mine, give it to me.
Yeah, and now you're kind of seeping into our next topic, which is attachment. It's perfect timing that you said that, because attachment is the action of taking something that is not a part of you and making it a part of yourself through an emotional or energetic investment. So for example, you were just talking about like the mother might be, let's just imaginary mom, and the son doesn't want to eat the pie. The mother might be attached to the validation of her cooking being really good and nourishing her child. And so wanting that feedback, wanting that appreciation, wanting that acceptance, wanting that validation from the other person, right? From the child, to feel good about oneself. That is a huge attachment. And on my journey of unattaching myself, I had to face a lot of places where me as a mom wanted my kids to behave a certain way so that I could feel good about myself. Like, for example, do all the things you're supposed to do in school so that everybody, that's in the outer world thinks I'm doing a good job as a mom. That was a huge one for me, really concerned about what other people think. And so if my child was having difficulties at school or not doing well at school, and especially I had a contentious relationship with the boy's father, it's like, then it was his reason to kind of come back at me and say, you're not doing a good job parenting because there's all these problems. So it gets really, really tangled up, right? Because we are all souls having a journey in this life. But we have these expectations, attachments to how it should go in order for us to feel good about the relationship or good about ourselves. So attachments can be, you could be attached to the way that, like I said, the way that your child does in school. You could be attached to your own performance. You could be attached to how other people perceive you. You could be attached to material items, wealth, and a house or a car or some status. You could be attached to a job title or a role. And a role could be even like being a mother or being a mentor or being, the one that knows everything, or the big sister, or whatever the thing is. So, and as healers, it gets super sticky, right? Because then we could be attached to being the healer and, or the mentor. And then are we willing to go back in the hollow bone? Are we willing to be the student? Are we as moms, are we willing to learn from our kids? So this is attachment is a huge area of exploration. So is something coming up for anyone? Yeah, Monica, I felt like you wanted to share.
Well, yeah, as you know, this is a subject that I love because it's been something I've been unraveling now for many years. But I'm also hearing in the attachment part of it, I'm making a connection I hadn't made before, which is kind of like, as human beings, we're like meaning making machines. And so like we get attached to the story, right? That we, right. And you were pointing to that earlier, Akeem, when you were talking about, or maybe Kerri, it was you, but it was like emotionally attached, right, to an outcome, or it's like, if he does that, it means this about me, right? That it somehow gets all tangled up in our story about ourself, right? So it can get really, and this part that I also really see from the domestication part. It's like it all goes together, because as a kid, I was so used to putting my own needs aside, like that example, right? Overriding what my body knew, right? To be true, to avoid the consequences. So like the obedience became more important, and becoming whatever they wanted me to be, in that case, pretty, pleasing, and polite, right? To not disrupt the status quo, to not go against the grain. And literally, there were always comments in my house like, you had to stir the mud, Monica, or, don't upset your mother, like Jordan was saying, like some version of that always kind of put the onus on me, right? If I were to actually self-express in a way that was true, somehow that was always upsetting someone or something. So I became attached to this idea of like me as the troublemaker, right? And so it took me a long time to see that the trouble, right, that I was making was this, underneath that was this seeking or this quest for what was true. But it got so buried underneath all of these behaviors that I had adopted in order to survive, kind of like, or get along, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Totally.
makes so much sense.
And there's another piece that just came up for me about this, hearing you, Monica, and it's also connected with what Jordan said. There's this energy of checks and balances and weighing and checking and testing and verifying. Though there's a term that's used throughout the Toltec community called mitote, and that mitote is called mental chatter. The mental chatter is the same thing I found myself ruminating at 2 a.m. about something someone said. You know, that becomes like a cyclic thinking, and it's can be crazy making, right? If we let it. And then we come up with these different ways of, well, let me create this check and balance so I don't have to think about it anymore, or not have to be accountable for this other reaction, or I'm ready next time. These are things that I even began to realize that I was doing in grade school, to the point to where when someone would speak, I'm thinking about the next thing that I'm going to say. I'm not hearing them as they're speaking it. I'm no longer present.
Point. It's like strategies, coping strategies. Yeah.
That's
It's
what I'm
protection
saying.
strategies, self-protection. Yeah. And what are you protecting? You're protecting your safety of your dream.
Yeah. I was just going to say, that's the other thing that, has really become very apparent to me, is that, you talk about the dream, and it's really kind of this collective unconscious. It's like this unconscious dream, because so many of us are kind of in this trance, whether you call it the trance of unworthiness or a trance of powerlessness or whatever that is. But I think that's what they're kind of, when, we hear, this idea of the dream, and like, we must change the collective dream. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, because we're kind of living more of a nightmare than a dream, right? And when we realize we have an active power to change it by first working from the inside out, it's like, oh, right? Like, now I'm and I'm sure you're going to talk about this, but attachment projection, right? It's like, if I start owning those things, if I start taking responsibility and seeing where I'm attached, or seeing where I'm projecting, I can now start, it's first like revealing it, right? And seeing it, so that I can actually change the behavior and recognize, before I immediately do it, like, actually, I have a choice here. I can choose what I think. I can choose what I'm dreaming up, right? And instead of dreaming up my strategy to get back at somebody right, I'm actually using that in a more powerful, using that, all of those talents in a much more productive way.
Yeah. And what you're hinting at is like that you're coming back to the smoky mirror. So like, the smoky mirror is made up of all of these meaning makings, right? These strategies to be safe. The smoky mirror includes the mitote. It's the fog around our own, like our mental anxiety, right? To keep life safe, or to get our needs met, And so one of our needs is love. Like, a primary need is love. Of course, we need food, we need shelter, we need safety. We also need love. And so that need for love is actually manipulated quite often in the dream of the planet in order to have control, And so everybody's trying to get control by manipulating circumstances so that they get their needs met, but then they're sort of expecting other people to do certain things for them. So that's the attachments and the domestication. So like, let's just go back to the example of the little boy. So the little boy, let's call him, boy A, let's call him Adam. Adam like learns that you have to finish your meal. Otherwise women get really upset. Mothers, grandmothers get super upset if you don't finish every little bite of what they made. Now Adam goes to marry Jane, and Jane has been brought up with the system of only eat what you actually want to eat, and only eat until your body tells you to stop. So now Adam is eating like double the portions just to prove how much he loves Jane and her food that she's making. And he's suffering for it. Like, he's having dietary issues, and he's not well. And Jane's actually upset with him. Like, stop eating more than you need. Like, you're overeating. And he's upset that she's upset, because he's like, well, I'm trying to show you love. This is how I show you love. And you don't appreciate that I love you. because I'm eating all the food. I'm even eating seconds, but you don't see my love action, and you're telling me to stop, and you don't even appreciate it, and you're upset with me. So you can see how the dreams, like the domesticated dreams, like they trigger all these points within us so that we can see the false in our smoky mirror. So we can see the story, the narrative that's been running our lives that was so part of the background noise. We didn't know it was an option. We didn't know we could choose about that thing because our environment didn't give us that choice. And then we just started seeing the world through the reticular activating system the way we were brought up to see it. The reticular activating system is that part of your brain that helps make sure that you keep seeing repeating evidence of what you believe. So when you're as a child, you don't know any better. And so your brain is domesticated a certain way, and then you just automatically start seeing things that way because your reticular activating system in your brain reinforces, you get more examples and more proof of that belief.
Yeah, the confirmation bias.
And social media totally takes advantage of this, as we've seen. The engines are programmed to only show you the feeds of people that you agree with. So you just keep getting more confirmation that you're right. And then at some point you meet someone else that has a competing perspective that's different than yours, and they have a whole bunch of people that agree with them because they've all been getting that feed that confirms what they think. And then there's a clash because everyone's attached to their perspective because that's how they get love and safety. So now we just explained why, wars happen. So what do we do about this? We have to realize it. So the last piece of this is conditional love. Conditional love is when I love you if you do what I want you to do. And I don't love you if you don't do what I want you to do. You belong with us if you believe the way we believe. You don't belong with us if you don't believe the way that we believe. Right. And that's why we have a zillion churches.
Yeah. That you bring up something really important about conditional love. And, my goal as a parent is learning the power and honoring your children's no. If you can't honor someone's no, because there's a talent to being able to honor a person's no, because now it opens up creativity to create solutions. It creates an opportunity to work together even more and get even closer and get better understood with what your real needs are and how you can have your real needs met and how they can meet their needs and how you two can work in conjunction with each other, rather than what we've noticed happening societally, which is a power over matrix. The person who has the biggest stick or the loudest mouth gets more attention, gets more of what they want. And then it creates also a hierarchical based system, which has a single point of failure. And it also puts not only the dependence on the person at the top, it also bases the people that are not on the top to play some sort of subservient role, asking them to not really be all of who they are. It's asking them to put that down and only give to whoever's at the top of the hierarchy, which we'll notice that would be the shadow of the patriarchy that we've noticed in society. It's not a conglomeration. It's not honoring each other's no. It's not asking the questions of how can we create better unity. It's do what this person tells you to do or else.
Yeah. And so we've been in a lot of dependency, codependency model based on domestication, training how to conform to get love, conditional love by doing what you're expected to do. And so as we move out of that dependent model, that victim consciousness, what we're doing is we're moving towards sovereignty. And sovereignty is the reclamation of your power of choice. And the reclamation of your power of choice requires awareness. So you have to be aware of these paradigms operating in the background in your smoky mirror. So we often will do, things to put us outside of our familiarity zone, the things we're familiar with. We want to get always pushing outside of where we're familiar and comfortable, so that we start to ask these bigger questions. And, you know, you can put yourself outside of the unfamiliar zone in a lot of ways. There's always opportunities. And the more of those that you say yes to, like, for example, having a conversation with somebody whose perspective is opposite of yours, that's a great exercise in exposing your smoky mirror. You know, going to a rally for a competing political party, that would be a really intense way of exposing your shadows and your smoky mirror, to see like, wow, what do I believe about these people? You know, do they have horns and tails? You know, like, so you might like find out that they're just humans and they just have a different perspective, right? Because they've been conditioned a certain way. They've been domesticated to think a certain way. And, you know, getting married to somebody of a different ethnicity and background and experience, that's been a really great way for us to also learn about, you know, our own smoky mirrors, and doing research. And so these are all the things that we do in Soul Nectar Tribe and also in Inner Medicine, because we want to be liberated. We want, you know, the ultimate state of freedom is to be the artist of your own dream of life. And what does that even mean? That means that the choices you're making are conscious choices. That means that if you eat pizza, it's not because you were conditioned and domesticated to eat pizza your whole life. It's because you just actually like pizza and you eat it, period. You just like it. So you choose to eat it, right? So, or, you know, if you vote a certain way, you know why you're voting that way. Like, you're aligned with your choice at a conscious level. You know why. And that is, it's not important that you align any certain way. It's just that you're conscious of your own choice. And nobody can tell you what's right and what's wrong except yourself.
I just had a great conversation tonight, before this cast tonight, with a person who just completed her studies in epigenetics. She's a degree in epigenetic studies. And one of the biggest things for her is that at 16, she had cancer. She's now 40 years old, and she discovered for herself where she had certain parts that would perpetuate the cycle. And she didn't know that it was related to flow throughout the body. And the flow in her body was turned off, thus causing a stagnation, thus igniting the chance of cancer. And when she found that key, she was able to break it. And so it's really just going back to saying that you're not destined to have cancer. You're not destined to die from it. There are choices, there are opportunities, and you can even change your DNA at the raw level. You can change your thinking at the raw level, piece by piece.
And the most powerful way to do that is to realize that you're dreaming. This is a dream. So it seems really real. It's the best virtual reality suit ever. And it's a dream. Your soul is dreaming you right now. You're dreaming the reality. Collectively, we've agreed that this computer thing is real, and the Zoom thing is real, and the microphone is real. And, you know, we collectively agreed that all of these things are real, and we're dreaming them to be real, but we're dreaming. So at a soul level, we're manifesting this collectively. The planet the way it is, the plants, the animals, all these things. And that's when we actually witness a miracle, like, you know, we see some mystical vision in the sky. That's, you know, that's possible because we're dreaming. So it's really, it's something that's difficult to grasp until you start diving into the hollow bone spirit and you start having these mystical experiences yourself, where it's like, how did that even happen? You know, like that whole fabric of your reality starts to change, and you start to realize how fluid everything actually is. And, you know, this is how we soften. I like to use the word soften. We soften the defensiveness. We soften the, you know, because the defensiveness is all around protecting something, some way that you're getting love. But when you actually have love inside of you and you have self-acceptance, then you don't need to get it from outside of you anymore. So that whole aspect of the game changes, and it liberates you to be very empowered to create the reality that you actually desire. And then you can influence others around you to come and join inside of your new dream and to become a player, an active player inside your dream. So as us building New Earth together, that's what's happening, is that we're creating a new playground and we're inviting people to it. And these teachings are liberating us to have the awareness that allows us to do that. So whenever we notice we're operating from conditional love, we can bet that attachment and domestication are also present, right? So I'll love you if you do what I want. I'll be your friend if you say what I need you to say. I will be there for you if you're there for me. All of these, things are avenues for us to deeply explore within ourselves. What does unconditional love even look like?
And asking that same question, what if you didn't give me exactly what I wanted?
What if you gave me something that I didn't think I wanted, but then it was better? That's like
am I open to
spirit.
seeing that it could be better? But would I even understand it to be better? Or is there a piece of me that's like, well, no, I'm not getting what I want. So all I can hear is that I'm not getting what I want, rather than it could be something even better than what I want. It may take a little bit of, shine, may need to polish that a bit, may need to work through it, but you may end up realizing that it makes you better in the whole process of letting go. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, and that's why we practice beginner's mind.
Mm.
Monica, did you have something?
Yeah, well, I love what you're pointing to, because like the conditions are actually a form of rigidity, right? And it's the rigidity of how we see things. Like when that softens, we're able, like something else becomes possible. And what gets kind of interesting is like in a very binary world, right? Where everything is black or white, right? Where everything is up or down, right? We forget that, a lot of these paradoxes can stand together and all kind of be in the same space or in the same expression, and it doesn't diminish or invalidate, right? That suddenly we have the capacity for this diversity of experiences without needing to because we feel safe in that, right? It's a muscle that you exercise to be able to I've got this kind of thing. Like I can hold the tension of what is happening in a moment, right? And see another point of view, see another perspective, soften my gaze, right? So that I can actually entertain another perspective, vision. Yeah.
Yeah, and this process also helps us to become way less attached to what we think. Because like at the end of the day, what I've realized through this process of undomesticating myself with all my opinions is that what's more important, if let's say with my younger son, when we had some challenges a few years ago and he was expressing a point of view that I know came directly from his father, so it was really frustrating for me. I realized that more important than me than being right was being loving with my son, being accepting, being unconditionally loving with him as he is in this moment, as he was perceiving things in the moment, to be totally unconditionally loving him as a person. That was actually more important than whatever perspective was being challenged at that moment. And so for me, this work helps me to prioritize what's actually important to me, which is the relationship with the person, much more than the perspective. And I think that's a huge shift in consciousness that is happening on the planet right now, is prioritizing the relationship more than the perspective. But that requires that we be able to be safe and know that we're safe and that because our perspectives are not our identity. And I think that's, that is huge right there. That's a huge shift in consciousness that happens through this work. Yeah, powerful. We've had so many great conversations, Monica and I, and as part of the tribe, as part of the community. It's like, wow, it's just awesome. So any last shares, anything that anybody wants to share before we conclude today? Anything that wants to be voiced? Oh, I see our Alsingate baby right there. There he is.
Oh, look at that.
Look at this special angel.
Gorgeous.
Ah.
Oh.
Our beautiful goddess Nicole had conceived a child from an Alsingate, the holy mountain. Yeah, there he is.
Oh.
Master of the holy mountain. So sweet. So see, I mean, that's just kind of a demonstration of we can tell whatever story we want. When we become the master of our own artist of our dream of life, we can tell the story we feel like telling, and it becomes real in the telling of it. That's the cool part when we can really detach from, taking it ourselves too seriously. We can have fun with the storytelling because we're going to keep telling stories. We tell stories. That's what we do. So we just want to tell better ones. That's all.
Well, I'd like to bring us through the final part of our meeting today with a meditation. It's really small, brief. It'll be some words. It'll be an opportunity for us to come together. Everyone that's actually in this call and anyone watching this back, if you are able to, if you're okay with it, everyone please close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. Try to repeat these words within yourself to create an echo of energy out into the collective. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of every person, every being. Let light descend throughout the entire earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of every person, every being. Let love descend throughout the entire earth. May the great avatar return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of every person, every being. The purpose which the holy masters know and serve. Let goodwill and the will to do good descend throughout the entire earth. From the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out. And may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power descend throughout the entire earth. Let light and love and power manifest the divine plan on earth. This is from something in my pranic healing practices. It's called the Great Invocation. This is combined usually with ohms. And it was written by the Tibetan Dwajal Kul. And it's also adapted by my master, Master Chokoksui. Thank you. And you can open your eyes and come back in.
Yes, and thank you for that. And thank you all for being present and being willing to take this journey with us tonight to explore these questions of mastery of self and how we master ourselves so we can live a good life, a life of love and light and joy, and include everything that happens in our life as part of that love, light, and joy, right? Every single thing happening is for us as us, by us, and through us. And so it all has a purpose and a place in our hearts. And if you enjoyed this, and I know many of you are already students, and so this is part of your student package, and some of you are already part of our tribe. If you are not yet part of our tribe and you would like to receive daily inspiration in our Telegram portal space from your phone or computer, we are exploring the mastery of self with daily inspirations this month. Akeem does a whole lot of beautiful little videos and inspirational thoughts, and I pop in there. I come in and out. I'm like a little emotional wave, you know, like my energy ebbs and flows, so I'm in and out, but I come in when I can, and I share inspiration as well.
Yep.
And
also Kalea, who has
our
been,
student Kalea.
yeah, she actually has been sharing some, because she's also a classical human design teacher herself and guide.
Mhm.
So she also shares where those ends connect with gene keys, which also is taught in the healer program.
And the inner medicine training, we
Inner
also
medicine
work with the
trainings.
gene keys.
Mhm.
So Kalea brings some of that wisdom in, and it's really great. So we get
Mhm.
to share that.
Mhm.
So we welcome you to it. And we're offering a really big special right now, and for however long we're inspired to do it. It's used to be like $222, you know, for the year. And what we're doing now is we're offering it for $52, like $1 a week. So that's a huge deal. And so we want to invite you to it. And you can do that over Venmo or PayPal or credit card, whatever you prefer. We'll put that in the follow-up email. And if you're listening to this back on Soul Nectar Show, that the information will be down in the show notes. So you can go down in the show notes and look it up. And yeah, and so upcoming events. We have a drum journey in Austin on January 15th at Soul Healing and Wellness. And that's on our meetup group. And the meetup group is Starseed Shamanic Circle of Austin. And there'll be a link in the email and in the show notes. And on January 27th, we're going to have our next fire walk, our Courageous Heart Fire Walk for the full moon in Leo. So if you want to like get a powerful evening of transformation, come on out. And that is austinfirewalk.com, austinfirewalk.com. All right, everyone. It's been a blessing to have you all here with us. I would love for you to type in the chat or just unmute and say a word of something that tonight meant to you, something you got from it, something that you're feeling right now, just a word or so of where you're at, if you're able to unmute and share with us, or type it in the chat and we'll read it back for everyone. Up to you.
I'll share, Kerri.
Yeah. Quinn.
Can you hear? Hi, Akeem. Hi, Kerri.
Hi.
Hi, Quinn.
Hi. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so I might kind of cuddle up on the couch. But I'm so glad I joined because thank you. It was such a nice like energetic like pick me up to be on this Zoom call. I'm so glad I did, and I can't wait for the next one. But yeah, overall thoughts. Honestly, just listening to everyone who spoke during this call was just so stimulating, and it was like back to back, like resonating, like boom, boom, boom with me in my head. My mind was just spinning with like connections that I felt to a lot of the words that were being said. So even though I didn't share, but there was just a lot of like similarities and a lot of resonance that I experienced during everyone who shared. And it was just really beautiful to be a part of. And that's kind of just my general overview of everything. But yeah, it was just a beautiful time to connect, and I'm just really grateful. So thank you.
Oh, grateful that you were able to join us, Quinn. That's lovely. Thanks for being here.
And yeah, of course.
And Monica, I saw that you also had yours appreciation. It was super nourishing. Yeah, I always love to have our conversations. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, mine is building community. I like it.
Building community.
Here.
From the mother of the Ausengate baby.
Oh,
There he
it's
is.
cute.
Hello, sweetie.
Hey, good to see you.
Hi.
Hi.
It's fantastic.
Such a beautiful light.
Okay, well, we just appreciate you all so much. We're glad that you came out and joined us tonight. And we'll do it again next month. And we'll tell you the book later. It's a secret for now.
Secret.
Secret. I like to keep secrets.
Secret squirrel.
Okay. So we'll see you in all the ways I see you. Love you guys. And bye for now, everyone. Mwah.